Good morning, and welcome to today's webinar, Amazon Threat or Opportunity to a Multi-Channel Business. I'm Chris Gabert from Webgility, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. We're happy to be joined by Emily Wilcox from Elevate Growth Group. Emily's going to leverage her extensive experience working with Amazon sellers to give you insights on how best to utilize Amazon to grow your e-commerce profits and the pitfalls you may encounter along the way. Feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation. We'll save them until the end, and Emily will answer them at the end of her presentation, which should be about 30 minutes. So thank you, Emily, for joining us. I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you everyone who's joining us this morning. I'm in Los Angeles, so it's just 9 a.m. here, but I imagine we have people all over. And so yeah, we'll be talking about Amazon and sort of the threat that it presents and also the opportunity for e-commerce businesses. To get going, just a little bit about me. In 2015, I had 2 babies. I became a mother to my beautiful daughter, Faye, and I became the co-founder of a company named in her honor, Fair Clothing Company. So what my husband and I started as a little side hustle to fill the college fund rapidly grew to nearly $1 million on Amazon over the course of the next couple of years. And during that time, we experienced every failure you can imagine, and we had almost every success you can imagine as well. And even had the full Amazon PR team from Seattle with a whole team of videographers in our home to film us for a Prime Day special. And during that time, friends and family started knocking on our doors, ringing our phones, colleagues, people in our network were just asking us what we were doing on Amazon, how we could help either them or people that they knew. And so in March of 2018, I had 2 more babies, my son Jude and our company Elevate Growth Group. And Elevate was really birthed to help other small and medium-sized businesses launch, grow, and scale sales on Amazon. And it's been an absolute joy to help so many other brands and entrepreneurs achieve their goals more quickly, put more money in their pockets, and get their brand in front of more customers. So as of last year, we were managing over $10 million of sales on Amazon and expect to at least double that in 2020. So I don't know everything about Amazon. Anybody who professes to be, the guru, the expert, I'm always weary of those titles, but I do know a lot. We work with brands across many, many different categories. And so we've seen most of the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to Amazon. And I'm going to just take you through kind of a high level of that today. One thing that I'd love is if you guys could just hit the chat box and let me know if you're already selling on Amazon. That would be really helpful just to understand if this is a channel that you're looking at or if it's a channel that you're already on and you're just trying to figure out how it best fits as the piece of the puzzle for kind of the multi-channel approach to your business. So hit the chat box, let me know. Hi Jay, hi James, hi Rebecca. So it looks like a lot of you are already selling on Amazon. If you haven't already, just hit the chat box and let me know. Perfect, thank you guys. Jay, yes, but we suck at it. Well, hopefully I can give you a few tips today to help get you on your way. Awesome, hi William, hi Jen. Okay, so most people are already selling on Amazon. Cool, so Amazon has more than 573 million products for sale. So just about everything you can imagine, including tons of funny things as well. So I like to just throw in a few of the random hilarious things that you can buy on Amazon. And you can tell that I'm a parent to a now 4.5-year-old and a 2-year-old when I'm looking at weird masks to scare my children at night. But the goal of this is to talk about, again, Amazon as a threat and an opportunity and how it can fit into your business as a channel. So with most of you on Amazon, you probably already know to some degree the power that this channel holds. And these numbers are a little old, but the trend remains the same in 2018 and 2019. I just like this visual the best because it shows Amazon as a channel compared to eBay, Apple, Walmart, Home Depot, Best Buy, Macy's, Wayfair, Costco, and QVC. So it's really, really clear where the lion's share of e-commerce sales are going in the United States. And Amazon competes head to head with 129 major corporations in major markets. So it's not just us little guys who are looking at Amazon as a threat or an opportunity. When we look at the gross domestic product in the United States, of the top 10 GDP, Amazon has its finger in all of them except for real estate. So they are very ubiquitous. They present interesting threats to businesses that you would never even imagine unless you'd done a ton of digging. When it comes to e-commerce itself, Amazon has a lot of house brands. So you can see that they're in everything from lingerie to men's shoes to spare parts to frozen food. So they're not only giving us a platform for us to reach customers, but they themselves have found a lot of opportunities to create house brands and sell directly to consumers as well. Rachel Greer says, I see them as kind of a great white shark. You don't really want to mess with them. They have all this data available. They track what you're searching for, what you click, what you don't. Every time you're searching for something and you don't click, telling that there's a gap. So that's an interesting perspective from the threat perspective, right? That basically Amazon's using all of this data to figure out where they can dominate in the marketplace. Rather than giving us an opportunity to dominate with our brands. There are so many pundits and companies that consider Amazon a threat that there's actually a death by Amazon index, and they're tracking 54 retail stocks that are considered to be the most vulnerable to this threat. And even though the S&P or Amazon's value rose 560%, over the course of 6 years, the S&P rose 102%, and these death by Amazon stocks grew 42%. So there's definitely something to be said about what Amazon does when they come and decide to play in your space. They have such control over customer data and logistics infrastructure. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Now, this is just kind of an interesting aside. It doesn't necessarily pertain to us today, but I want to give you a little look as to where Amazon's going in the future. So Amazon has household consumption data. They have competitive intelligence about sellers. They have an insane infrastructure that's at least 10 years ahead of their next largest competitor. And now they're in our homes with Alexa speakers. They bought Ring. So they've got a lot going on to try and penetrate the household in ways that we probably couldn't have imagined even 5 or 10 years ago. And this is all part of an orchestrated plan. This is not just something that's randomly happened. Amazon filed a patent back in 2012 for anticipatory package shipping. So what Amazon wants to be able to do is ship people goods before they even have to order them. And interestingly, many economists are suggesting that feature alone could save 10 to 40% on logistics costs. So when you think about the fact that Amazon is already the Goliath in e-commerce, and they're setting themselves up to control far, far more of household consumption than what's happening currently. And as spooky as it sounds, there probably will come a time that we'll just open our doors and have a package waiting there and be like, oh, awesome, batteries. You're right, I did need those. Oh, look, here's toilet paper. Wow, I did, I was getting a little bit low without actually having to think of it and even order it. So welcome to the future. So the bottom line here is that, if you're going to try and just beat Amazon, you'll lose. They have invested tremendous resources into creating this market position that they have. However, we know that wherever there's a threat, there's also an opportunity. So a little comedic levity here for just a moment, because I know that's a lot to digest. So I'll just give you a second to breathe. I'm going to check the chat box just to see if there's any questions that I want to be aware of. Okay, perfect. So we'll keep rolling. I know I'm moving through this stuff pretty quickly, but I just want to leave a lot of time for questions and for the heart of how this may pertain to you all. So as the old saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. And I know the crowd that we have on the webinar this morning is primarily already selling on Amazon. So you're of the same mind. And this is something that we're seeing across larger industries as well. You know, Kohl's joined as an Amazon ally about I think it was about 2 years ago now. So you can return items in store to Kohl's. If you've ever done this and you're thinking, what's in it for Kohl's aside from foot traffic, when you give the item to return, they print you out a coupon for 25% off a single item in store only. So that's their hook to get you to shop and spend a little money in their store while you're there. There's an example of Microsoft and Amazon striking up a partnership. And there's an entire industry that's been built around Amazon as well. So there's like the Amazon sellers lawyers, there's all kinds of software for sponsored product ads, there's the Amazon accountants, there are people that help you just if your account gets suspended. There's a law firm that's focusing on registering trademarks for Amazon brand registry. So there is, again, we can look at Amazon as a threat or we can look at it as an opportunity. And here are all of these different industries that are saying, hey, what an opportunity Amazon's created. Let's be the Amazon accountants. Let's be the Amazon lawyers. And for us, let's be the kings and queens of Amazon for our products. So there is an insane opportunity for selling on Amazon. So this phrase here in orange, people go to Amazon to spend money. I want to elaborate on that a second because it sounds like kind of a Captain Obvious statement, but I want you to think about your sales funnel. And if you understand a funnel, you understand that at the top of it is your cold traffic, people who don't know anything about your brand. And at the very bottom of the funnel are the people who are about to buy from you. What Amazon does that no other platform can do is Amazon has millions, hundreds of millions of shoppers who are at the very bottom of the funnel, even if they've never heard of your brand. So the overall conversion rate on Amazon for Prime shoppers is over 60%, meaning I'm an Amazon Prime shopper. When I open up my app and I type something in, more than 60% of the time am going to follow through with a purchase. That is unlike any other channel, okay? We don't get that on our own websites. We don't get that when somebody clicks on a Facebook ad. You don't get that on Google where you've got people just kind of looking around, poking around, kicking the tires, so to speak. So Amazon is controlling almost 50% of e-commerce. They're responsible for the majority of online e-commerce growth. And they've penetrated about 2/3 of all US households with their Prime membership. So they're over 100 million with their Prime subscribers. So if you want to know how to get more customers, here they are. Now, the interesting thing about Amazon is that, you know, many people who are shopping on Amazon, they really don't care about the brand. They're just looking for the right product that has good reviews at the right price, and they'll buy it rather than searching for something by brand name. So that gives the little guys an amazing opportunity. You know, when we started selling baby clothing on Amazon, nobody knew who Fayfair was. They were just looking for a baby shower gift, and we were right there with something, you know, that could make them laugh, and they purchased it. So it's also a unique sales channel, and a lot of the big companies are still very, very late to the game. So when I tend to look at the worst listings on Amazon, they're often like Fortune 100 companies. Spanx is a good example. If you type Spanx into Amazon, you'll see just atrocious listings. And I love Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. You know, they're a $1 billion brand, and they're very, very poorly represented on that channel. So it means that there's a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs, small businesses, medium businesses to really gain a larger market share without having to spend millions of dollars building a brand that has to become a household name. Amazon changes all the time as well. So this is another opportunity. Us Amazon sellers, we call it like the Amazon shuffle, the search shuffle. So they'll change their algorithms, they change their rules, they change their terms of service. This is happening at least quarterly. And Amazon does not, wave their arms in the air and say, hey guys, just a heads up everyone, we decided to change our algorithm. It just happens. And so the sellers who have their finger on the pulse and really understand how this channel works, anytime those changes occur, it's an opportunity for you to gain more sales, gain more market share, gain better positioning and ranking on the channel. So a couple little success stories. This is a brand that's local to Southern California. They started selling cell phone screen protectors on Amazon in 2012. It was just 2 founders. And a year later, they had sold 2.5 million units. They became the #1 searched and ranked brand for screen protectors. A year later, they had 18 employees, and their brand was being sold in 20 countries. So these guys started just on Amazon with nothing. They were not a brand. They just had a product that they wanted to sell, and they were able to parlay that into a brand. So the interesting trend in e-commerce right now is going from e-commerce into retail and into more of a traditional branding position. So it's completely flipped the model on its head. I went into our local mall over the holidays and saw brick and mortar stores within the mall for many e-commerce brands. So like Casper, the online mattress company, now has stores in the mall. MeUndies, which is an underwear brand that hit it big online, now has a store in the mall. So there absolutely is a place to use Amazon as a jumping off point and a huge opportunity to get your brand out there, get your business really cash flowing, and use that to create a multi-channel business where there wasn't one. One more example, Bling Jewelry. This was a one-woman operation selling on Amazon US in 2008. 2 years later, she launched to Amazon UK. 3 years after that, to Amazon Canada. A year later, she was in the rest of Europe and Japan. Then she added China and Mexico. By 2017, she had 40 employees. She doubled sales, selling internationally on Amazon, was experiencing just tremendous growth in her business in some of these international marketplaces. So Amazon is not just a US platform either. It's something that we can use to leverage our brand and get it out there globally. So let's dig into multi-channel strategy. What this comes down to, and what I mean by multi-channel strategy, is at Elevate, we have a lot of brands that come to us, and Amazon is not their only focus. So they're also selling direct to consumer on their website. Oftentimes they're also in brick and mortar. So they're in Target, they're in Costco, maybe they're in Whole Foods, depending on their category. They're in some of these places, and they need to figure out how to make it all work. So there are different things that you can consider. I would say the one that most businesses are concerned with is pricing. So there's a perception that Amazon is a low price channel, and that they need to have a low price in order to compete on Amazon. But how do they do that without undercutting their pricing with their retailers? And so one of the things that you can consider is branding. And what I mean by that is some companies have a sub brand. So they either have a totally different brand on Amazon that is just their product in different packaging, or they may have a different line. So they may have, you know, Candy Wires iPhone cables that sell on Amazon, and then Candy Wires Pro iPhone cables that sell in the Verizon store and in Best Buy and in the airports and that kind of thing. So you can use your branding to help differentiate and help preserve a multi-channel strategy. I also like to poke holes in the myth of Amazon, you know, just being a price war. So we've helped some brands actually have a price slightly higher on Amazon than they have on their own website. And in that respect, it's kind of a win-win, because if someone buys it on Amazon at a higher price, great. And that higher price helps subsidize the margins that they need, because we, you know, those of us who are selling on Amazon know that there are additional fees. Amazon takes a referral fee that's usually 15%. And then there are FBA fees for Amazon to pick and pack your product as well. So if they buy it at a higher price point on Amazon, great. If they're price sensitive, they'll shop around and they'll go to this company's website and they'll buy it there, which is great too. Either way, that brand just acquired a new customer. So those are a couple of things to think about. From a marketing PR perspective, if you're wanting to get into retail or other channels, having a strong Amazon business is actually a very good thing. So if you were to go into a meeting with a target buyer, what will happen is that buyer 100% of the time is going to open their computer in the meeting and pull up your product on Amazon and look to see if you're there, what your Amazon product page looks like, what your reviews look like, both how many and what your average is. So in this way, Amazon can either help you get into other channels, or it can be a hindrance. So when you think about your Amazon page, it's almost more important than your website in this day and age as like a marketing or a PR arm of your company, because you're reaching hundreds of millions of people on Amazon, which far outweighs the typical reach of most e-commerce websites. So some questions to ask that we kind of just touched on, you know, do I want to have the same brand on Amazon as my other channels, or do I want a different brand? Does my direct-to-consumer Amazon price also support retail channel pricing? Am I able to compete on Amazon while maintaining MAP? MAP is minimum advertised price. So that's something that comes into play when you are in retail as well. How will my product star ratings on Amazon impact other channels? So feel free to take a screenshot of this if these are questions that you want to be thinking about for your own business. And, you know, if you want to talk through some of these questions, we'll have time to do that in the Q&A coming up here momentarily. So really, Amazon, the big opportunity with Amazon is not only to reach the hundreds of millions of customers that are shopping, that are ready to buy on the Amazon channel, but to use Amazon as a springboard opportunity that extends beyond Amazon.com, because it truly can be the rising tide that raises all ships. So in a beautiful way, there can be a snowball effect between your own website, Amazon, social media, and retail stores. And when it's done well, going back to that example, if you're in a meeting with the target buyer, hey, if they open their laptop and they look at your Amazon listing and it looks great and the reviews are good, you can go a step further and say, look, here's our conversion rate on this channel, here's our momentum, here's how much we're growing on Amazon, and you're far more likely to get retail placement. Because when you think about what a retail buyer is looking to do, they're making bets every day. And something that already has a ton of traction on Amazon and is doing really well is far more of a sure bet that if they give up shelf space and they put your product in their stores, that it's going to be successful for them. So it's absolutely a really cool opportunity to grow a strong, healthy multi-channel business. And it really is amazing how many e-commerce brands are on the shelves in Target today and are in the malls with their own brick and mortar stores and are just doing business in a totally different way than the way that it needed to be done, 20, 30 years ago, where you had to spend, a lot of money, $500,000, $1 million to build a brand. I mean, it was, really cost prohibitive to many small businesses. And now here we are, we can be e-commerce entrepreneurs, we can be a solo shop and create a brand that competes with the likes of, Thermos and these household names. So in terms of selling on Amazon, and I'm going to wrap this up in just a couple of slides and we can get into specifics. You've got to get yourself up to speed one way or another. So just putting your product on Amazon and hoping that it will sell is not typically going to work very well, because Amazon it's a winner takes all marketplace. So, what I mean by that is people say like, well, there's a huge pie on Amazon, so all I want is just a tiny little slice of that pie and I'll be happy. It doesn't work like that. If I go onto Amazon and I type in water bottle, we know from Amazon's own data that 70% of the clicks will go to the first product that's there. And then the remaining 30% will go to the next 2 or 3 products. So you're either on the top of page 1 and killing it, or you're not. So how do you get to page 1? Well, you have to have expertise. You have to have an approach that's specific to Amazon. So there are courses that help you get up to speed. You can hire an employee that has Amazon experience. You can partner with a consulting firm or an agency to launch or grow on Amazon. That's what we do at Elevate. And, the other opportunity is, some people just sit back and hope that like, hey, my customers will come to me. I don't really need to be on Amazon, or, over time, hopefully, but I'll just get discovered. And, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't work for most people, but hey, everyone can make their own choices. So common mistakes that we see are getting your account set up incorrectly. Amazon has invested a ton in making sure that people aren't cheating their system. So if your bank information doesn't match your tax information and doesn't match your name, or your credit card has been associated with another Amazon account in the past, that can lead to your Amazon account immediately getting suspended. I'm just going to fly through these here. So other mistakes are, not treating Amazon uniquely, like its own channel, spending too much on sponsored product ads without really knowing how to optimize that spend, not enough focus on customer service, and lack of consideration of channel strategy. So those are common mistakes that we see when we're getting brands. These are typically, those are clients that come to us that tried it themselves, and then they're coming to us because it wasn't successful. But every threat to the status quo is an opportunity in disguise. So let's talk more specifically about how we can make Amazon a bigger opportunity in your business, and how we can help you grow sales. So I know the topic of this was a multi-channel approach, but with so many of you already being on Amazon, we can just open it up for questions. And if you have questions more specifically about, tactics and how to grow sales, I'm happy to field as many of those as we have time for here. And maybe that's an opportunity to do an additional webinar with Webgility to cover that topic in more detail. So with that, Chris, I'm happy to open it up for questions.
Thanks, Emily. For the participants, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions for Emily after today's presentation, now would be a great time to submit them through that Q&A box, and she can read through the questions that come in there and respond. I guess while everybody's getting ready, I had a question for you, Emily.
Sure.
A couple slides ago, you mentioned a common pitfall is a lack of a channel strategy.
Mhm.
How are you seeing that manifest most commonly?
So most commonly what happens is whatever channel the brand launched to first, they inadvertently back themselves into a corner. So what I mean by that is brands that started in retail and brick and mortar typically have really high price points because that was what worked in that channel. And then they want to launch to Amazon, but at the price that they're launching at, it's going to be very hard to be successful. And they actually have enough margin that they could lower their price, but they can't do it without it disrupting all of their contracts that they have with their retailers. So that's an example where they launched their brand just thinking about one channel and not thinking multi-channel. It can go in reverse too. You can launch on Amazon thinking that like, oh, I'm okay with, you know, these slimmer margins because I'm really price competitive and I'm going to play a volume game. And then when you go to try and sell on your own website or sell into retail, the margins just aren't healthy enough to support those channels. So that's where we typically see it, is when it comes to pricing. And so again, like to alleviate that, sometimes brands will either create a different brand or do some sub branding to try and differentiate and allow them to have like more price fluidity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. It
Cool.
looks like we've got a couple other questions as well.
Okay.
Robert's asking, what is you and your company's experience gaining control of a company's ASIN that is being sold by a third-party vendor, and I think perhaps fraudulently?
Yeah, so there can be two different scenarios there. There can be legitimate third-party resellers that are selling where it's just the channel needs to be cleaned up. Typically when we're talking fraudulently, that's more of like a hijacker situation where it's not even your product. It's just somebody who's glommed onto your listing with a similar product, and it's oftentimes those are Chinese factories. So it's a very different approach between the two, but we do have experience. So Robert, what I'll say is that there are companies that specialize specifically in that. And so we've helped the brands that we work with partner with companies that their sole job is monitoring and cleaning up resellers. So the important thing there is you have to have a good reseller agreement in place that prohibits your resellers from selling on third-party platforms like Amazon. And then there are also some things that you need to do with your warranty in order to create a legal basis for these companies to help get unauthorized resellers removed. So happy to make introductions on that if that's helpful. There is also, Amazon has what's called a transparency program, where you get a unique QR code that goes on every single one of your products when they get shipped in. And any items that get shipped in that don't have that QR code are immediately destroyed by Amazon. So that's also a method that can be used to clean up resellers and reseller inventory on the channel. Okay, so I'm seeing some other questions here in the Q&A. So Jen asked, for customer service, should you be answering negative reviews? 100%. So managing, you know, really you want to try and mitigate 1, 2, and 3-star reviews. It's not entirely possible to do that, but having a good proactive outbound customer service message system in place is really important for that. Because if someone has a problem with your product, you want them letting you know so you can make it right before they leave a review. Unfortunately, the Amazon system makes it a little bit difficult once a review is left to rectify the situation. So there's a ton of manual legwork that has to go into trying to match the reviewer to the order number, unless you get lucky enough that the reviewer uses their first and last name as their kind of Amazon public profile. But I would say that's only about 5% of the time that we see that. So it is good to also publicly comment on the negative review, saying like, hey, we're so sorry you had that experience. You know, that's not the quality that our product or our company is known for. Please reach out to us directly at blah, blah, blah. And you can actually put in an email address on that public comment, and it won't get suppressed. Now, unfortunately, when shoppers leave those comments, they're not being notified when there's a reply. So the reason for doing the reply on that review, you're not necessarily going to reach the buyer themselves with it, but it helps future shoppers when they read that negative review to see that like, oh, this company actually does care. And if I have an issue, they're going to reach out to me and they're going to make it right. So that's Jen's question. Let's see. Leah said, we are really struggling with knockoffs. They happen so quickly on Amazon and they're even using our photos and copy. It's killing our margins. Yeah, so you can submit copyright complaints. And if they're violating your trademarks, you can submit complaints with those. It is a little bit like whack-a-mole when that happens. So, you know, without knowing the specifics, it's hard to share exactly what the best approach would be. But, you know, continue building your brand, continue innovating. You know, you may want to look into, you know, if they're just putting up a different listing and saying that it's similar, that's a little bit harder to combat. But a lot of these, you know, sellers that are doing this knockoffs, it's like the more that you can make it difficult for them, if you just keep reporting them to Amazon and that kind of thing, they'll move on to someone else. So it can be a persistence game, and I know it's really frustrating when it happens. So let's see, Jay says, you mentioned customer service. This is one of my company's hallmarks. My impression from shopping on Amazon is that there isn't any. What would that entail for my business? Yeah, Jay, so you can use, there's third-party software. There are a lot of different options. We like Quantify Ninja. It's like $35 a month. And basically what you do is you put in place an outbound customer service sequence. And so you're trying to build some engagement with your customers before just asking them for a review. So what you may want to do is say the day that it gets delivered, you want them to receive an email just saying, hey, I want to make sure the product arrived on time and in perfect condition. Could you please let me know? And what you're trying to do is just get them to say, yep, got it. And then you may want to send them something that's like, depending on your product and how technical it is, you may want to send some FAQs or, you know, some tips and tricks to get it set up easily or to make sure that it works the best that it can. Otherwise, you may just want to check in a few days and say like, hey, you know, thank you so much for purchasing. Share a little bit of your origin story. I'm Jay, I'm the founder and CEO. Here's the reason why I started this company. I so appreciate you supporting the family business. And, you know, if you could support me and help other shoppers by clicking this link and taking 1 minute to write a product review, I'd really appreciate it. So that really helps move the needle on getting 4 and 5 star reviews. And it also really helps move the needle on not getting 1 and 2 and 3 star reviews. So if you're proactive and you're in their inbox the day that the product arrives, they're more likely to let you know if they had an issue. And then just go above and beyond, you know, refund it and send them a free one, or send them a replacement and send them a little bonus gift at the same time. Because any of those engagements with the customer give you that opportunity to provide a 5-star experience. So Jen in the chat is saying, don't the Amazon rules say that you can't do that? You can. So that is all within terms of service. What you cannot do is you cannot ask for a 5-star review. So you can't only ask for a positive review or ask for a specific number of stars on a review. You only get one out message that's not related to kind of the fulfillment of the product. But once the customer writes you back, then, you know, you can continue communicating with them. So it's, most of these companies that provide this third-party communication software have really good blog posts on terms of service and how to stay within them. So I would recommend just reading that synopsis. You can read the full Amazon terms of service, but it's so long that it's hard to not get lost in the details. Daniel asked, what's the name of the software again? I'll pop it into the chat. We've had good luck with Quantify Ninja. But there are a ton, and they, mostly all of the software companies have very similar set of features. So I would say, you know, it's hard to go wrong. So let's see, that was Jay's question. Keith, what are the best ways to be 1, 2, or 3 on Amazon search? Okay, that's a super loaded question. So Keith, if you could just email me, Emily@elevategrowthgroup.com. I have a quick presentation about the Amazon algorithm and how it's designed and how you can leverage it in order to rank at top of search. So I'd be happy to share that with you. It's something that I recorded for private clients, but if anybody wants that, go ahead and email me and I'd be happy to get it to you. It's just such a loaded question. There's no, yeah, so that's what I will say about this, is that there's no magic wand answer. Everybody wants there to just be like some hack, some trick, some, hey, do this, flip this switch, and now you're at top of search. It just doesn't work like that. And when you think about most categories, but especially I'll give an example of something like highly commoditized, right? Like an iPhone case, right? Everybody wants a phone case for their iPhone. I would venture to guess that there's probably 500,000 competing products for that keyword. And there's 35 spots on page 1. So how are you one of the 35 when there's 500,000 people trying to get those 35 spots? So that gives you the magnitude of this. And I think it helps you to see that there's no one quick, easy answer. That's why it's important to understand the Amazon algorithm, because when you understand how the system works, then you can start to understand how to move up within the system. Let's see, someone asked how to maximize Amazon sales for customized products. Our products have numerous options that once ordered take a couple days to make. Yeah, so again, you're still trying to leverage the Amazon algorithm, because when you think about maximizing sales on Amazon, Amazon is a query-based system, meaning it starts with a shopper typing something in, okay? So you could think about that as basically somebody raising their hand and saying, hey, I need a new water bottle. And you are raising your hand and saying like, hey, I have a water bottle. And you're trying to make that match. You're trying to make that sale. And so for you with customized products, it might be, hey, I want a beautiful baby blanket for a baby shower gift. And you might be raising your hand and saying, hey, I have beautiful baby blankets and we customize them. We actually like embroider the baby's name on the blanket. So you're still trying to leverage the Amazon algorithm. You still need to be leveraging sponsored product ads. because the way to grow sales is in that matchmaking. You need to be right there at the top of search for the right keywords that your customer is putting in. Now, the fact that it takes a couple of days to make, all that means is that your conversion rate's going to be a little bit lower, because there are going to be a certain percentage of shoppers that need something super last minute. And that's just the way it is. So those people will self-select out. And the people who have a few extra days to spare and want to give a customized gift will purchase. So at the end of the day, I don't think your strategy changes that much. Interestingly, you might, if your products are highly giftable, I don't know what kind of customized stuff you do, you may find that you want to turn your ads off or turn them down on like Thursday and Friday, because maybe it's people buying something that they need to bring to a wedding on Saturday or to a baby shower on Saturday, and there's no way your product's going to be turned around that fast. So you may want to play with that from like a days of the week perspective and see which days tend to be the best for you. But at the end of the day, just having a customized product shouldn't change your strategy tremendously. Okay, so Elena asks, what do you think about focusing on FBA products on Amazon versus non-FBA? Thank you. Okay, so I highly recommend FBA. If anyone's not familiar with that terminology, FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. The other option is FBM, Fulfilled by Merchant, where you're shipping the product yourself. The reason that FBA is so powerful is the Prime badge. So you will lose the vast majority of shoppers on Amazon if your listing is not Prime eligible. Now, there is a program that Amazon has called Seller Fulfilled Prime. It's currently waitlisted, so you would have to join the wait list. But what that eventually does, if you qualify and if you meet the requirements and you're shipping stuff out quickly, is that you can ship items yourself and still have the Prime badge. So I would be okay with that. But if your strategy is to be on Amazon and not ship into their warehouse, it's unlikely that it's going to be successful for you unless you're in a really, really small niche where you really don't have any competition on Amazon and none of your competition has a Prime badge. But to me, as someone with a lot of Amazon experience, if I was looking to source a new product to sell on Amazon and I saw that the primary competitor was not Prime, I would take that bet all day long and launch a competing product. So Jay is asking, is the waitlist for FBM industry specific or overall online market? That's a good question. It's not something that Amazon has shared, so I don't know. The waitlist is not for FBM. FBM is fulfilled by merchant, so anybody can do that at any time. The waitlist is for seller fulfilled Prime. But yeah, I don't know if it's industry specific or how that's going. We have clients that we've put on the wait list that have been waiting 3 or 4 months and still haven't been approved. So I'm not sure if Amazon, they may just be evaluating the whole success of the program before they let anybody else in. Jen is saying in the chat that her old company used to be Seller Fulfilled Prime and switched to FBA. Yeah, I've heard horror stories with Seller Fulfilled Prime as well, where sometimes you're forced into spending like $100 to ship something like overnight across the country in order to meet the shipping deadlines and keep the Seller Fulfilled Prime, keep like your account in good health. So you got to be a little careful with that. So for most products, it really just makes so much more sense to just ship them into the Amazon warehouse and let Amazon take care of the fulfillment. Keith asked, if your products are based on variants on a parent product, would it make sense to have one of the products under the parent be FBA and the rest be FBM? So I would ask, why do you want them to be FBM? Because in most cases, the clients that I've worked with, we have a client that makes pet costumes, and they have an office with an adjacent warehouse in Georgia, where it's like a really cheap price per square foot. They have interns that are manning their warehouse. So they came to us and originally said, like, we want to do FBM as much as possible because it's going to be really cheap for us. And I said, okay, based on the weight and dimensions of your product, it should cost $3.28 for Amazon to pick the order, to pack it, and to ship it anywhere in the United States in 1 to 2 days. Can your warehouse do that for less than $3.28? And she said, no, there's no way. So that's the question that you have to ask yourself is, like, what's the real advantage to FBM? Because the thing about the FBA program is that you get to decide how much inventory you ship in and when you ship it in. So you're still in control of inventory management. You don't have to start with 500 pieces. You know, if it's a new product, ship in 25 and keep a tight eye on it and ship in more, you know, if it's moving. And if you need to get the products returned to you at any point, it costs 40 cents a unit to have them shipped back to you. So it's not horrible. Let's see, Steve asked, do you know anything about sale by Amazon, FBA versus SBA? I'm not familiar with sale by Amazon. Steve, are you referring to, like, when you're buying a product and it says ships from and sold by Amazon? Can you hit the chat box and let me know if that's what you're talking about? Okay, you're saying yes. Okay, all that means that's Amazon's vendor program. So there are 2 different ways to sell on Amazon. You can sell as a third-party seller, which is pretty much what most of this has been talking about, which is where you own your inventory, you ship it into the Amazon warehouse, you build your listings, you do your own marketing, and when something sells, Amazon picks it, packs it, ships it, they pay you within 2 weeks, and they just take their commission and take out their fees. So that is Amazon Marketplace, or Amazon's like third-party seller program. So in that case, if you would buy a baby onesie, it'll say sold by Fayfair, ships from Amazon. That's how you know that that's a third-party seller. With Amazon's vendor program, you sell to them wholesale, and then Amazon turns your product around and sells it to their customers. And that's a shipped from and sold by Amazon. That's an invitation-only program. It is rife with issues. Amazon doesn't pay you until 60 days after the fact. They take out a lot of different fees. It can be a really difficult program to manage. A lot of big companies are in Amazon's vendor program, and a lot of them are actually looking to exit and move on to the third-party marketplace side because it's just such a challenge. So Leah is saying they have a new program called Sold by Amazon. It's a hybrid of vendor and seller where Amazon manages the sell price but nothing else. Ah, okay, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, so I do not recommend that. We actually haven't had any clients do it because we don't recommend it, so I can't say for sure, but I think what we've seen in our decades of experience with Amazon and managing millions of dollars worth of sales and hundreds of different seller accounts, is that Amazon is not the best at managing sales on Amazon. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to think about, but oftentimes their programs, you know, we get reps that call us all the time. Oh, I work for Amazon. I specialize in advertising. I'd like to give you some suggestions on what to do with your advertising campaigns. They're always terrible. So my suspicion level is high when it comes to Amazon's expertise. and my trust in them is pretty low. So when it comes to having them control my pricing, I don't like that, because if they do it wrong, then my sales have a very, very low ceiling and there's nothing I can do about it. So I really don't recommend that program. That said, I'm sure there's someone who's found a way to use it and have it work well, but I want control. I want as much control as I can have. And, you know, there's a lot that we can't control on Amazon, but why give them control over your pricing? Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you coming, and all your good questions, and hope your sales grow on Amazon, and would love to hear from you another time. All right, we've got 3 minutes left. If anybody has a last question, I'd be happy to answer it. So we'll just give it a second here. Awesome. Well, hopefully that means that you got a lot of value. You got your questions answered. Anyone who wants to email me, I'm happy to send you again that recording that I made for private clients that is more specific to the Amazon algorithm and how to leverage it to grow your sales and rank your product better. It is my life's work and what I enjoy more than anything, seeing other entrepreneurs and small businesses grow and take off and use Amazon to successfully reach more customers and put more money in their pockets, and, you know, change the money story for themselves and their families. So if I can help you do that in any way, I'm more than happy to do it. Feel free to reach out to me via email. You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook as well. And maybe we can do this again another time and cover more specifics around growing sales on Amazon. So Chris, you and I can talk about that later, but I'd love to serve your clients in that way.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for joining us today, and thanks for all the engaging questions to all of our participants. It was, I think, a really useful session. I hope you guys all got a lot out of it. So I think that's a wrap. So thank you again to Emily and to all of the participants, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.